When you consider the movie Joe versus the Volcano, you must remember that it was released in 1990. This was before Philadelphia or Forrest Gump. Tom Hanks at this time was mostly considered to be a physical comic actor. Audiences were used to seeing Hanks in rather buffoonish roles in movies like Bachelor Party, Volunteers, and Dragnet. Joe versus the Volcano seems to be a rather silly title, so it was natural for audiences to expect to see a screwball comedy. Audiences and critics didn't seem to think too highly of the movie. It was generally panned, and it did not stay in theaters for very long. It seemed to come across as a weak screwball comedy that had only occasional funny moments and nothing truly memorable. Yet for some, the movie's bizarreness seemed to linger in their minds, and in subsequent viewings, most likely from their homes, many started to detect that there was something more to Joe versus the Volcano than what they saw in their first viewing. Let's take a close look and explore some of the hidden themes. The very first thing we see is a placard. The words "Once Upon a Time" are a clue that this is a fairy tale. The characters, places, and events are mostly made up. Fairy tales also often have elements of magic or the supernatural, so the simple placard is a clue to what follows. Also notice the nursery rhyme music indicating something childlike. Joe Banks, played by Tom Hanks, is going to work, and we can hear a song.
Say a man is made out of mud.
Joe, as well as a mass of people, apparently in a dazed state, are walking like zombies to a factory. This is an everyday ritual of getting up early and going to work that many of us can relate to. The song 16 Tons reveals the slightly hidden story within the story. Joe versus the Volcano is basically the classic story of making a deal with the devil and losing your soul. There is also a theme of personal redemption. Joe is among the myriad of people who have no meaning in their lives other than going to their job every morning. Their dazed state and dreary surroundings hint that they are in some kind of limbo between awake and asleep. They are barely aware of the awfulness of their situation, and they seem to have stopped caring long ago. These people unawareingly have traded their souls for a dull, meaningless life. The sign of the devil is a crooked line, and we see it as the logo of the company Joe works for. We soon see it again as the camera moves upwards, revealing that the path the workers are taking is the same crooked line. This scene will be played out again. In fact, the whole movie is essentially a crooked and wide path to redemption that Joe takes. This contradicts the traditional dogma that redemption is found by walking a straight and narrow path. Joe walks into the advertising department. It features poor lighting, drab colors, a broken hat rack, and an annoying buzzing sound from the fluorescent lighting. The employees are in their own little worlds, oblivious to anything around them. This is particularly true with Mr. Waturi. Mr. Waturi is on the phone engaged in a pointless, seemingly endless argument. The prosthetic testicles on his desk reflect his lack of manhood. These people have horribly mundane jobs and lives. They dress in dark-colored clothes and appear half dead. They are soulless. Only Joe seems a bit different. While he has the same deadpan look as everybody else, he seems a bit more active and aware of his surroundings. Once he gets to his desk, he pulls out a child's reading lamp. The lamp is colorful and contrasts everything else in the office. This is an indication that though Joe is in limbo like everybody else, he doesn't seem as far gone, and the lamp symbolizes that he has hope. When he turns on the lamp, a tropical island with a volcano appears on it. This is also symbolic, as this forebears Joe's destiny with a volcano. While the red and orange image of the volcano contrasts the drabness of the office, it also indicates danger. Indeed, the volcano represents hell itself. The nursery rhyme music, however, reflects Joe's childlike demeanor. It's the same music we heard when the "Once Upon a Time" text appeared earlier.
What's with the shoe?
I'm losing my soul.
Yeah.
In case the hidden story is too hidden, Joe brings it out in an obvious way when he tells Dee Dee, played by Meg Ryan, "I'm losing my soul." Dee Dee, whom we'll see more of later, comes across as totally non-assuming, too accepting, and very dull.
Not good enough, Joe. Not nearly good enough. I put you in charge of the entire advertising library.
You mean this room.
I give you carte blanche how to deal with the materials in here.
You put the orders into the printer, Mr. Waturi, not me. That's how you wanted it.
You are not competent to put the orders into the printer. That's a very technical job.
You explain it.
I was going to do better than that, Joe. I was going to make you assistant.
Even worse, though, is Joe's boss, Mr. Waturi. He obviously lives to work. It's all he's about. To him, there is nothing beyond the office. He can't comprehend why Joe doesn't share the same dedication to his job. Mr. Waturi can't stand Joe's lamp and makes him put it away. Joe seems to deal with his coworkers like a child dealing with his parents, perpetuating the notion that Joe is basically a child. Mr. Waturi has no childishness left in him, and he resents it in Joe.
And what's this lamp for? Is there not enough light in here for you?
The fluorescents affect me. They make me feel blotchy, puffy. I thought this light would.
Get rid of the light. This is not your bedroom, Joe. This is an office. Maybe if you start treating this like a job instead of some kind of a welfare hospital, you'll shape up. And Joe, I want those catalogs.
Then please order them.
We see Joe in a doctor's waiting room. He is shielding his eyes as if he's hiding from something. He is hiding from the real world. Part of Joe wants to die, and this has made him a hypochondriac. He is secretly hoping he will be afflicted with some deadly disease so that his horrible life will soon be over. Note that the waiting room is plain and dull, as is the nurse. She is just like everybody else, just living a lousy, meaningless life. Contrast this with the doctor's office. It features warm colors. The fire in the fireplace gives it life.
And how long have you felt this way?
Well, pretty much since I left the fire department. On and off, but since then, about 8 years.
What did you do in the fire department?
Well, I put out fires.
Was it dangerous?
Yeah.
And here we discover that Joe used to be a fireman. He saved people from fire. In the soul-selling allegory, this makes Joe a fallen angel, as he is no longer saving people from hell. He has now allowed himself to become a victim instead. Notice how the doctor doesn't even seem to know what a fireman is. He asks, "What did you do in the fire department? And was it dangerous?" Allegorically, the doctor is not human. He's in league with the devil. We'll see that he is setting Joe up to sell his soul. The fire behind Joe and the redness of the room are evidence of this. The doctor informs Joe that he has a terminal condition called a brain cloud. This is fitting since Joe's mind is definitely in a fog, as it has been since he left the fire department. Joe anxiously asks if it is incurable, as if he wants the answer to be yes. Notice also how Joe shows no disappointment, despair, or any negative emotion over finding out he's going to die within 6 months. Finding out he has only 6 months to live seems to flip a switch in Joe. He starts acting like the proverbial man who's had a brush with death and now appreciates life so much more. This, of course, is the opposite of this situation. Back at work, things are just the way he left them. Mr. Waturi is at another point in this conversation, and everyone else is minding their own business.
Who said that? I didn't say that.
Joe stirs things up. He briefly interacts with Dee Dee and with Frank. He mocks Waturi with a prosthetic arm, again suggesting Waturi's lack of humanity.
Joe, don't touch that! What are you doing?
I'm opening or closing the main drain.
Shouldn't be touching.
Joe's closing the valve suggests he is regaining his bravery and is going to try new things. It scares the hell out of soulless Mr. Waturi. In a sudden inspiration, Joe quits his job. The 3 books, Robinson Crusoe, Romeo and Juliet, and The Odyssey, foretell his upcoming adventures. He leaves the lamp with Dee Dee. He is passing the torch in hope that Dee Dee can find her childlike wonder in the lamp. In his speech to Mr. Waturi, Joe no longer behaves like a frightened child, but a giant compared to the others in the room. Joe suddenly realizes the ridiculousness of his whole situation.
Why, I ask myself, why have I put up with you? I can't imagine. But I know. It's fear, yellow freaking fear. I've been too chicken shit afraid to live my life, so I sold it to you for $300 freaking dollars. Oh, wait! You are lucky I don't kill you! You're lucky I don't rip your freaking throat out! But I'm not going to! Maybe you're not so lucky at that. Because I'm gonna leave you here, Mr. Wahawaturi. What could be worse than that? Who am I? That's the real question, isn't it? Who am I? Who are you? What other questions are there? What other questions are there, really? If you want to understand the universe, embrace the universe, the door to the universe is you.
Me?
You? Me?
You are really intense.
We now see Joe and Dee Dee on a date. Joe is doing all the talking. Note how he is focused only on himself and Dee Dee, as if they're the only two people who matter. Joe is full of energy, but he lacks direction. Like the doctor's office, the restaurant is colorful and features a lot of red. This again hints that the devil is near and Joe is ripe for the taking. Dee Dee, with her brown hair, acts as the goddess of the earth. She is nature, and Joe is reaching into the supernatural, which is beyond her reasoning. Dee Dee is overwhelmed. She can't understand Joe's change. It enchants her, but also frightens her. It's unclear here as to which side will win out. As they leave the restaurant, we see that a volcano is visible on a poster titled Fire in Paradise. Joe seems to be in paradise, but it is a false one. Joe is celebrating his upcoming death when he should be celebrating his life. An erupting volcano on a welcoming tropical island reflects this paradox.
The doctor told me there's something wrong with my brain. Now, it's not catching, but I've got just 5 or 6 months to live.
What?
At his apartment, Joe tells Dee Dee his bad news. This is the final straw for Dee Dee. She is not ready to deal with something like this. She leaves Joe forever.